Hello, good evening. If you can't hear me tonight, let me know because for whatever reason, Facebook is not telling me if it can detect audio, which is horrifying because I don't want to do this. Oh, it's saying there's audio now, so that's a good sign. If there isn't for any reason, let me know. Tonight we're going to talk about like Halloween with kids, right? Like how to navigate that. For kids, Halloween's really about going door to door and getting candy, and while some of us can't do that this year, some of us can. So I thought it would be good to kind of talk through like what that can look like and what might work for you and your kids or your family. So I figured before we get into some of those ideas, I just wanted to mention the like social call, like I was saying before. In the group I did a post, I don't know if you saw it, but I was going to see if any of you ladies are interested in having like a monthly call. Like we can pick a time and it would be just like a video call on Facebook where we can just chat, have, I don't know, a glass of wine, a pop, whatever that is, and just kind of be social and be supportive because that's part of the point of the group. So if that's something you want to know more about, there is a post pinned and I will be putting up just another poll to see like what times would work best for people because we're in different time zones. So other than that, let's just get into Halloween with kids, like vegan kids. So this year for us is going to be different. Ontario has kind of re-entered lockdown. Our numbers are higher than they were in the beginning. Certain cities, areas, zones, regions, I'm not sure what the right word is. Anyways, they've been pushed back to a previous lockdown and are, I don't know what you want to call them, our Doug Ford has basically said like don't go trick-or-treating if you like, just don't do it. So even though I'm not in those regions that we're told not to, we just don't really feel comfortable doing that, and we're going to do something different this year. So for us this year, we are going to stay home, we're going to dress up, we're going to just do Halloween-y things with the kids. I picked up some boxes of like vegan-friendly Halloween candy, and I'm thinking maybe we will do like a scavenger hunt. And my oldest is really into Harry Potter, and right before the lockdown we had this Harry Potter birthday party planned for her, but it didn't happen because her birthday was in March. So we have all those decorations and things, and I think we're going to repurpose them and try and find some like games and maybe make some sort of Harry Potter, like, you know, I'm going to look online, right? Like clues, and maybe you read something and it's all Harry Potter themed and it'll help her like find candy with her little brother. So I think that'll be fun. We're going to dress up. My oldest is going to be Ginny Weasley from Harry Potter. I will be some sort of teacher, and we have a spare Gryffindor robe should my son decide he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore. And the husband, who knows, maybe he'll let us like paint a mustache on him. He's not the dress up kind of guy. So for us, like, that's not the norm of how like we would normally do Halloween. Normally we go out and we go trick-or-treating, and I figured I would just get into some of the things that you could do, and as we go through that, like I'll share what we normally do and how we balance that, because at least in our household, half of us are vegan and half of us aren't, so it's a little bit easier to navigate and like plan what to do with the non-vegan candy than if your household is completely vegan, or you're at least trying to like start that process. So the first thing that I would do when it comes to Halloween and kids, because there's going to be parties at school and parties with friends and all these things, it's good to talk to them a little bit about veganism. And I think a lot of the time parents will start to make changes and not really have a conversation about why, and it can be age appropriate, right? Like it doesn't need to be really in depth, but just having a little bit of a one-on-one and just a reminder around like the holiday season, and there's going to be so many treats and like things that they want, and it's really hard for them to understand why you might not partake. And so it's just nice to like have a conversation with them and let them know that you're going to have treats for them. You're going to still have fun stuff. If they go somewhere, maybe you'll provide something for them and you want it to be like super fun, but kind of bring back the reasons why. It's not like mom, dad, you know, they don't want you to have fun. It's like, well, you know, health reasons or environmental reasons or the ethical reasons, whatever it is, right? you can explain that in a very like simplified way to the kids and just give them a fresh reminder, kind of, so it's in the back of their mind, right? Like, even if they know, it's helpful to repeat things and kind of have that there, so when they're offered something, they can go back to that very recent conversation and go, oh yeah, actually no, I'm not eating that anymore because I don't like what that does to the animals, or some version of that. So that would be the first thing I would do, is just have that little convo. Then the next thing that I think is really important, at least for us in our family, is to let them trick or treat. And there's different ways to go about it. Generally what we do is we go out and we do our neighborhoods and we do all the trick-or-treating, and we don't worry about what they get. We just throw it in the bag, let's get it all. And when we come home, we always review the candy. And even before we were vegan, we did that because, you don't want to be one of those families on the news because someone like put a razor blade in a candy, right? Like, we just take out the suspicious candy. But now that we're vegan, at least half of us, what we do is we have 3 piles. We have the suspicious candy that's going to the garbage. We have the vegan candy that's set aside for me and my son. And then the other stuff, my oldest and my husband will eat. And that way there's also like a divide. And when they like go through that candy, it's like, that's your problem. But there's some other things that you can do. For example, if you are a household that's like all vegan, I would still say go trick or treat and like enjoy that process and collect them. But then you can do a few different things. One thing you can do is trade your kids, right? Maybe you have a box of vegan candy that you bought from the store and you're going to trade them for the non-vegan stuff. And I don't know, maybe you bring the non-vegan stuff into work, you donate it, you just give it away to somebody else that will be thrilled to have it and appreciate it because it's already open, right? Like, it's already purchased. You're not really fighting anything by throwing it out, or you can't vet everybody ahead of time and see like if they're going to have candy that's vegan or not, right? Like, there's just a lot of stuff that's not practical in Halloween. You can't like sort out what everybody's going to do. So I would worry about that kind of as an after effect and figure out what to do with the candy that way. Another thing that can be done as well as like the getting candy, as the kids get a little bit older, giving away vegan candy can be really fun. And I know when people think like vegan candy, they don't think of like, they think, I don't know, weird stuff from the health food store that's kind of hard and it doesn't smell very good. But there's a lot of stuff that's like accidentally vegan that you can give out. And so, that makes me think, I forgot. So another option for when you go trick-or-treating with the non-vegan candy is that if you have, for example, if you have younger kids, maybe you're going earlier in the day, afterwards, after you sort things out, you can give back that candy, right? Maybe you put the porch light on, you let your kids in their costumes give out candy to other kids, and you give out the non-vegan candy back to people that will use it and enjoy it, and then it's not sitting in your house, and you've also not had to spend money necessarily on candy for the kids coming to your door. So that's another option. But back to giving away vegan candy. So there's a lot of like accidentally vegan candies. So something that we got was Twizzlers because they're vegan friendly. I realized afterwards the box has cherry and strawberry. My son is allergic to strawberry, so those will all be mine, and he's gonna have all the cherry ones. But that's something that we grabbed that you can get kind of anywhere, like in those mini packs for Halloween. Sweet Tarts, Swedish Fish, Sour Patch Kids, Oreos, and potato chips, right? Like regular plain potato chips. There's all those big boxes around Halloween, and those are a great option to like give away. And juice boxes and plant milk boxes are also a good option. You can also get pop. Like sometimes people do that as well, but that's a way that you can not only have your kids receiving or like not only have the kids like participating in Halloween, and whether that's, again, you're only taking the vegan candy and you're setting that aside for them and you figure out what you're going to do with the other stuff, give it away, repurpose it, however it is. But it's really nice to be able to give away vegan candies to other people, and they may not even really realize that they're vegan, and they still like appreciate and value the candy, right? It's not like, you know, homemade treats that someone put in a Ziploc bag that's like sketchy, right? Like people know what Twizzlers are, and they're happy about it and they're excited. So I would try and just make some new traditions and some little switches to maybe what you're used to doing. My family has never given away candy, ever. Though my mother did. I remember one year in particular, she gave away toothbrushes. I remember being horrified. As, you know, like the one year that we were participating in giving out stuff, it was toothbrushes. Like, that's not what kids are there for, but, you know, it was nice, I guess. But yeah, I would, you know, kind of look at making things fun and just slightly different light. So if you normally do give away candy, give away vegan stuff, and you can supplement what they got from trick-or-treating with that candy that you bought and that you're giving away, right? Like there's so many different ways that you can kind of put it together. Something else that I think is really great, not just for like your kids or other people's like vegan kids, is the Teal Pumpkin Project. And if you haven't heard of the Teal Pumpkin Project, basically it's just for kids with food allergies, right? There's some kids that just, they can't have any of the stuff in the candy. And I mean, it's a bummer. So the Teal Pumpkin Project, you get a pumpkin, paint it teal, put it on your doorstep, and that indicates to others that you have non-food items to give away. So that could be like stickers, or that could be like tattoos, Pokemon cards, stationery, etc. So with the Teal Pumpkin Project, there's actually a printable map from my understanding. I've never actually done it, but you know, you can see if there's certain areas that maybe participate more than others, assuming that people have registered, of course. There's also like free printable posters they have. Like there's a whole website based around not giving candy to kids. So it's something too for you to note, that if you're out and you're with your kids and you're walking along, that you can see a Teal Pumpkin. You'd be like, we want to hit that house, because why wouldn't you, right? Like you know that you're going to get something that the kids are going to enjoy and probably have fun with. So that, you know, like I was saying, take them trick-or-treating and figure out what to do with the other candy, right? Like it's not hard to give it back out, take it to a friend, whatever, but let them have that experience, let them have fun, and keep an eye out for some teal pumpkins, because that means, again, no food, toys, stationery, whatever it is, collectibles. There's going to be the things that the kids are kind of going to be excited about, because it's a bummer to have like your whole bag dismantled. And it's not necessarily the whole bag. I would say 50% sometimes is vegan, because Twizzlers, all of those things that you don't really think of are okay. You just got to take a look at the packaging. The biggest offenders would be probably gelatin and carmine in terms of those candied gummies or like hard suckers to look for. So that was kind of the base of the trick-or-treating part. So beyond that, for kids, right, like maybe they're invited to a Halloween party, and that's an opportunity to make your own stuff and send it with them, right? Like I would connect with a mom and just say, hey, like my son, my daughter is vegan. I'm more than happy to send some stuff. I just wanted to check with you for food allergies and everything like that, right? And you can coordinate, and who knows, right? She could be super open to it and go, oh yeah, well, we're going to have this and we're going to have that and this and this, and those are vegan friendly. So you're welcome to send, maybe there's like a highlight. Maybe they have cupcakes and you want to make sure that your child has a similar cupcake so they're not feeling left out and part of that. So that's a good way to do it, is to coordinate and see what's available. Oh, so Hope's just saying she likes the new teal pumpkin trend. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I was saying earlier, we've actually never given out, I say that loosely, we've not really on a consistent basis given out candy or Halloween things over the years. Even for me as a kid, it was kind of sporadic. And I think, as my daughter's getting older now, it makes sense. She's 11, right? So she's getting there, and she'll eventually reach a point where it's going to be more exciting to either go out with friends or to give out the candy. And I think like the Teal Pumpkin Project would be a great way to do it, because it's so much more inclusive, because there's allergies that you can't consider. So even if you are giving out vegan candy, right, there could be something in that that's excluding a kid, or sometimes kids with like sensory issues, right, like they don't like certain textures or flavors, and having a toy might be more friendly to them. So it's a great way to like expand on that. Okay, so we talked a little bit about if they're invited to a party, and the big one that happens is school. Normally there's like a school dance, maybe the class has a party and there's chips and everybody brings a bunch of stuff, and that's great, right? Because there's going to be variety, there's going to be options, and I would make sure that you have a vegan option. Connect with the school and just coordinate and try and make it as inclusive and fun for the kids as possible, because the last thing you want to do is set them up and kind of say, you can't eat that, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't, and make it a really negative experience, because they're going to be resentful, and frankly they're going to eat what they want. And that's the reality with kids, is that if you push too far, they're not going to follow that path or that message, because it doesn't resonate with them, and they want to be normal or have the things that other kids have. And I had a similar experience when I was younger, because my mother was so against sugar, and we couldn't have real sugar, we couldn't have this sugar, and it was obsessive, right? Like we couldn't have a pop on a special occasion because it would be a big deal. And I know that whenever I had the chance, if I had lunch money, I was buying like packets of like blue raspberry sugar, what are those like bottle lollipops, and they had the sugar inside and you sucked on it, chocolate bars, whatever it is. I went to my aunt's and I would have like dessert, because they had dessert all the time, like every meal, which we did not do. And she would offer seconds, and I didn't care like if I was going to be sick, like I was taking seconds, because it was such a hard, fast rule, and there was never really conversation surrounding it, and it was very negative. It was like, oh, you can't have a real cake for your birthday, here's this thing I made and it's terrible, and it was made with like goat's milk, and I don't know, right? Like it just wasn't a good time, and there wasn't a good amount of balance. So when you're trying to engage with kids, they have to understand, and it can't just be you can't have anything. Well, if all the other kids are having this treat and that treat, like that, you have to give them an equivalent. You have to give them something special and make it so they don't feel excluded or alienated or weird. And that kind of brings us to another option, is consider hosting a party for your kids, right? Like if there's something that they normally go to and they're feeling a little bit down or a little bit worried about trying to go in and navigate like a new world, like if this veganism thing is new for them, right? Like that's scary. So I would suggest offering to host some friends and finding some fun vegan friendly options. I haven't seen a picture of it this year, but I know like there was like ghost dogs, and it was like, veggie hot dogs wrapped in like Pillsbury Doughboy buns, and like they had little ghosts and stuff, right? Like there's a lot of cute things you can do. Something we're going to do for my daughter for the Harry Potter theme is there was like pudding. I don't know how many people watch Harry Potter, but there's like in the second Harry Potter, a house elf like floats this pudding over somebody's head and drops it. So we were going to get some vegan pudding cups and coconut whipped cream and the maraschino cherries. I've never had them before, but other than like in a drink. So I'm assuming I can find some vegan friendly ones. Those might be something to consider with the carmine in them because of that artificial red. Not sure, but we kind of were going to plan like a fun menu, right? Like it's not going to be veggies and like fruit. We're going to do something fun. So that's what we're going to do for our own like personal Halloween. We're going to make stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And it's not going to be like a health-based day, because for kids, that's not what it's about. And that's okay to have fun and do that. So if you're kids are new to veganism, I would consider hosting. And it also allows their friends to see like veganism isn't that weird. You know, they're gonna have these certain ideas about how things are gonna taste or how things are gonna look or just be. And if you're able to kind of showcase that to their friends, that's a great way to do it, right? You have a whole bunch of Twizzlers and like potato chips and all this fun stuff that maybe people don't consider are vegan, and you can expose like your kids' friends to that and let them kind of ease in and have that more comfortable environment to broach that topic with them, right, with their friends, and kind of get there. So I think we covered a lot of the things that you could do in terms of that, but I think it's also important that if you don't want to keep the old traditions, right, if you don't want to trick or treat, or you don't want to host a party, go to a party and do those things, it's okay to make your own traditions, right? Like, it doesn't need to be around food, and it doesn't necessarily have to be around like horror or scary or costumes and dressing up. And I think that there's something freeing about like having to reevaluate everything with when you go vegan, because we just do things sometimes just because, like, for, you know, me talking about how we don't give out candy, there's no reason for it. It's just how my family's always done things. We've just never bothered, right? Like, I don't even have a good reason for that. And, you know, kind of preparing for this live, it made me realize that, you know, not this year because not many people are partaking, but next year I'd love to do the Teal Pumpkin Project. I think that would be a really great thing to do for kids. And so sometimes just having a chance to think and evaluate and be like, are we doing this because this is what we really like and what we want? Or are we just doing it because that's what we've always just done? And making that distinction can be really helpful. So make your own traditions, right? Like, if you're not into the candy, you don't want your kids to have the sugar and the junk or the, you know, whatever it is, because everybody's family is different and their needs are different and their dynamic is different. Do something else, right? One thing that could be super fun is making a haunted house. And that doesn't even have to be for public, right? Like, you could make a maze or something in the house that's like themed to whatever your kids are currently into, right? So for like my daughter, like, I'm sure she would love if we made like a cardboard box Harry Potter castle and, like, you know, decorated and did all this stuff. Like, that would be super fun. But again, make well, you know, it doesn't have to be horror based, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like a spooky house, a scary house, and that can be that you're making it for your family or you're making it for people and they're coming in and they're having a chance just to have a scare. You don't necessarily have to give out candy, and your kids don't necessarily have to go trick-or-treating, but they can have a lot of fun, and you can have snacks for them on hand and do something like that. Carve pumpkins, roast pumpkin seeds, right? Like baking, cooking, visiting an animal sanctuary, right? Or just the fun of just decorating and doing that. Rake leaves. I used to love, as a kid, they had those like pumpkin bags or like spooky bags. From my understanding as an adult, the garbage men actually do not take them. And you have to actually take them out of the bags and put them in the proper bags for them to be taken. So it's a hassle, 100%. But we've done it before and it was fun. And, you know, plan a full fall like hike in costume, right? Like, you don't have to like do Halloween just how everybody else does it or how you've always done it if it's not serving you or if it doesn't make sense. So get creative with it and do what's going to feel really good for you and your family. And I think the most important point in terms of Halloween and everything is that it's okay if mistakes are made. And I think we get so worried about protecting our kids and then making the right choices that sometimes we can shy away from, maybe we don't want them to go to that Halloween party because you're not sure if that parent's going to respect your wishes. Or, you know, you're worried about them going trick-or-treating with a friend because you can't control what's in their Halloween bag, right? And depending on the age of your kids and their needs and their allergy issues, etc., there's times, of course, it's valid concern, but there becomes a point where you need to kind of just let it go, right? They know you're doing your best, and if something happens, it happens. It's not going to be the end of them if they eat an O. Henry bar or they get a lollipop that's got like red food dye from bugs, right? Like, it's not ideal, but it happens, right? And it's just a learning experience, and they learn from it, and you learn from it, and you move on. So I wouldn't be too obsessed or worried about making sure that, like, especially if it's your first Halloween as a vegan, right? Like, leave room for error. Do your best and try and just enjoy the day and find something that's going to work the best for you and your family. So I hope that was helpful. If you do something different for Halloween with your kids, let me know. I'd love to consider other avenues, right? Like, make some new traditions and some new ideas and see where that takes everybody. So I'll leave you guys here tonight. It looks like our other topics were relatively popular, so I will probably just continue with those. And then if there's anything that comes up, especially as we move like towards the holiday season, let me know, right? Like, if you want to talk about gift giving or gift receiving and holiday wrapping, all those things. Like, if there's something in particular that you're worried about or you're thinking of as we get closer to Christmas or the other holidays, though I will admit I don't know much about the other holidays in terms of like the traditions and the things that go with it, but that doesn't mean we can't talk it out and figure out something that would work for you. Okay, so I'll leave you guys here. Have a good night, and I'll see you next week. Bye.